Not to mention they went from El Chapo to Jay-Z to Illuminati to showing me my supposed to be path. And I worked for a company with linkage. And I went out to whatchamacallit, work for an airline. Did a direct flight to, and I did, what was it? Went back to Georgia. They took me around another one that was a direct link to a shelter around her, or work in front of the shelter. I'm just like, why they kept taking me around all these? Not meaning that I had direct connection, because I never really had a direct connection. It was always after the fact, because what they were going to do is use these little to cover up the real purpose. I'm not stupid. And then somebody else started catching wind to it, because they're like, why they always? So they pushed me off to the little fake ones, or the little minor ones, the little bitty wannabe ones, and started giving me wannabe stuff. And that's why other ones the real ones start looking and laughing, right? Then, all of a sudden, you find out something else. And then you try to spin this whole story about being whatchamacallit, which in fact, it depends on what you're selling. And then you start showing people stuff. Oh, well, like one white guy that came to the hood, he was just told out flat. And I was like, or when somebody ate the grocery, they would say what? I would love to ask somebody, what would they say, baby? Right after I was like, ooh, that eat, yeah, ooh. It was. And I'm like, why would somebody say that after? Huh. So obviously, a while back, somebody knew that. So then what they started doing? Figuring out what? How it was done. Then they did figure out how it was done. And somebody, I guess, called themselves looking out and was like, there you go. And I was like, what, but who, what, when, where, and how? Because I don't. And I'm sitting here real, because I'm like, but see, everybody around already knew. Like the guy said in the elevator, he was like, it's already a lot of whatchamacallit here. And I'm like, oh, okay. So these people already around knew the fact of this and the fact of that. That was the problem. And leasing wasn't moving people like they should. As much as she'd be like looking out, but I'm like, you're not looking out if I didn't move. There was another open apartment on the backside. I said, you really should move me to the backside. You really should move me. You can't do an inter-transfer. No, you gotta call to see if what they intra-transfer, meaning into the same development but somewhere else at least. Or like, cause see, then you would have had to change voices. But use the same voices over and over again. But see, they had to, because guess what they were doing? Brainwashing. And not just. So they probably sat there and thought, oh, let's use that technique because the videos and stuff. It was funny because I was like, oh, I was feeling like, well, this video is kind of cool. I was looking at some of the videos that came through in my time of need. But then it was like somebody else was watching, and I was like, why is somebody else watching all these videos? Why was somebody like hacking into my stuff? And oh, you shouldn't get your password, but I would change my password like that. I would shut everything down, airplane mode, this plat, that, go back, cut it back on, cut the Wi-Fi, even call, even went one time. And it was still happening. So there was a problem way back when, and I'm like, why if there's a problem way back when, was nothing not done? I'm sitting here doing CCRBs. I'm sitting here making internal affairs complaints. I'm sitting here making complaints at the hospital. I'm like, nothing's not being done correctly. Like, you continue to push forward with using me. I'm going to Apple Store making a complaint. You gotta think about what Target. You gotta think about what Target yesterday. I'm thinking about going to other places and making complaints. I'm like, the stores, the Fine Fair. I'm in Fine Fair, and the people are told to start fights with me. And then when I call the police officer to investigate, I'm like, why y'all? I didn't say nothing to chick. So yeah, all these different incidents happening. And I'm calling them to go up there to the, and could we probably be trying to act like, no. Why would you do that when everybody kind of knows already something ain't right in the water? They sitting around here lying on me so much, where I'm like, dang, y'all are messed up. And then other cops like, yeah, he's sincere. Yeah, he's a good guy. Even some of the dealers are looking at me like, that don't make no sense. One guy asked me every time, are you still in rehab or you on coach mode? He sold me some, I'm going to say medicinal. I'm just going to say it at that. And I couldn't afford coming all the way down here to, whatchamacallit, spending $65 for, for $25 worth of weed. So I'm like, or 45 for 25. Dang near. And I'm like, no, I'm just like, I'm not smoking right now because I can't, because then I'm buying it from some dealers and I'm noticing that I'm not buying it from some dealers, but having to get medicinal grade or trying to get whatchamacallit where I can get it, weed, marijuana, which is like low end, and you're not arguing or fighting or owing anybody because you pay for it right then and there, so they're not messing with you. They don't really care because they're selling it right in front of police cameras. But I'm noticing that street level has like this brown in it. I'm like, nah, so I just stopped that right away. I was like, unless I had to, or they were working my nerves so bad where I needed to go to sleep, and I was like, I gotta go to sleep because they're egging me. So all I was doing is eating and sleeping. Then I'm eating and sleeping. I'm just, then they tell, oh, you just da and saying it over and over. And I'm just like, y'all right there is so fucked up. One, you're teaching somebody how to do it. Two, you're doing it to somebody that don't even deserve it. Making it excuses after excuses after excuses to validate somebody's wrong. Like, you found out the plan a long time ago. Or you found out the method a long time ago and you were telling people. So it's already out. And that's messed up because I'm like, Why would y'all do that though? If I ain't done nothing to nobody, then somebody start coming around me all the time. Somebody gave you da da da. I don't know where that's at. I don't know what you're talking about. What are y'all? What are y'all saying? Because oh, how can I get that out? First of all, was I just coming all over the place? I didn't even have sex first. So we're not even gonna get into this, that, and the third, but I was not having sex. So I'm like, maybe by going to the hospital they got it out or something. Because I'm like, if that was the case, or I don't know, we're not talking about, but then why every time I. So somebody must have moved here exactly before I moved here, right before I moved here. Somebody must have been at La Quinta. Somebody must have been at Marriott Bonvoy. Somebody must have been at the hospital at whatchamacallit, Elmhurst. Somebody must have been moving around with me at all these different places. Somebody must have been near Bronx and Bronxwood, or Bronx Care. Is that why, like, at what? The High Line yesterday? What did you do? I said I was going to go there here before I went. And as soon as I was like, I'm over towards the. That's crazy. And then somebody breaks into my mailbox? That's not cool. And then they're gonna start the same story of, oh, well, we sent you. Why would you do that and not just? I would say be a card. I would open up a bank account, a wire transfer. But see, they're like, maybe they haven't even done it yet, and they're just saying it because they know they're gonna do it. And I'm like, if that's the case, then you come pick a nigga up. You go out of state. You go out somewhere where people don't know nobody. You don't know nobody. I don't know nobody. We don't know nobody. You set up a rinky dink account somewhere in some Wisconsin town, and you say, this is gonna be your da da da, that's gonna be your blah blah blah, that's gonna be your blah blah blah. And it's about making money off you. But then how can somebody make money off of you? Also, this too, make money off of you and then talking about helping you. Then talking about getting rid of the gay folks, I guess. Well, no, like they aren't allowed in. So I'm like, oh, okay, well. But then saying it so blatant. And then pulling off of Octo all the different characters that are the name I gave people because of what they were always doing. Seemed like somebody always wanted to get all the pina colada and all the weed and marijuana that was laid around. I was like, oh, it seemed like I was buying some broke person some drugs. The question is, how are they acquiring them?